Hello everyone, it's me Varus, and in this video I'll be giving you a tropical update on that Eastern Pacific Atlantic and the activity that's going to come with it. If you do enjoy this video, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing it with your friends, and let's get right into it. So, yesterday I posted a little winter forecast or early winter thoughts outlook little video, so go check that out if you haven't already. Today we're going to be talking about the tropics as it is getting active again in both areas, both major oceans in the world, so it's definitely something to take a look at. So let's start out with the Eastern Pacific. So we're watching two disturbances in the Eastern Pacific, one that's already marked red, 70% to develop in the next 48 hours, 70% in the next 7 days as it generally moves west-northwest pretty slowly. And then a disturbance behind that has a 10% in the next 48 hours and 30% in the next 7 days. I do expect activity maybe after these two disturbances to kind of tick down. Won't be to say that there won't be another slow system that spins up as well, but we're starting to enter a phase where sinking air becomes more of an issue in the Eastern Pacific and may prohibit development. I'll show you guys that a little later in the video. So let's go on and see what the forecasts are for the Pacific. So we're going to use the European model, just really accurate. I like the European, but many models have been struggling with tropical activity, not so much in the Pacific, but more in the Atlantic. And again, I'll show you guys that in a bit. But again, let's focus on the Pacific. So here are where our two disturbances are. Here's our red disturbance right here, already popping off a week low. And then here's our other disturbance behind it, the yellow disturbance, definitely much more organized or disorganized than the first. So if we continue this through, you see this one continues to stay weak. It does start to move west-northwest. The one behind it kind of flirts with the L, still very, very weak. This is 8 a.m. September 19th, so this is getting into this weekend. Now that first system dissipates, and I will say that red system that's currently right here, again, which is the one that just dissipated, it did have a 90% in the next 7 days, but it's ticked down to a 70%. And so I do think that it's going to continue to tick down just because it's getting, again, the MJO, the patterns are favoring sinking air again. And so that could really promote a hostile environment for these little disturbances. So we're going to have to watch it. Now, it could actually bring some outer rain bands to extreme portions of California Sur, before it fizzles out, and then that disturbance behind it kind of stays stationary, and then while it keeps feeding in tropical moisture in portions of Mexico and the Yucatan, and then it starts to move, and you can see most sinking air is probably going to be located near here, like where the storms start to develop. I don't know much about Pacific, but that's just where I'm kind of estimating. This storm does look to have a little better of a potential. It's the same one, again, stays in the same spot through the weekend and into next week, the beginning of next week, before it starts making a move. And again, it looks pretty big, so it could be causing a big moisture plume into Mexico, and then it could eventually strengthen up into a hurricane before it heads out, and then who knows, maybe an abrupt turn east, but by that time it also fizzles out. So it's going to be very variable in the Pacific, especially after, even after that storm doesn't look like much. Still lots of activity, technically tropical moisture, but nothing too notable to really talk about. What about the Atlantic? Okay, we have Tropical Storm Gabrielle currently taking hold, and then we have another disturbance behind it. So let's talk about Gabrielle. I'm gonna do this on the fly. Okay, I do want to talk about Tropical Storm Gabrielle. So there's lots of controversy online, actually, whether or not Gabrielle should be named, and that's for good reason. Okay, besides this big moisture or convection plume, it's been very, very bare. Okay, I mean, you can see the exposed low-level circulation before the images start. Let's kind of go down and go way back. Okay, let's just pause it here. You can see the exposed low-level circulation tucked in right here. It is getting sheared apart. This is its outflow way out here. It is getting heavily sheared. Some convection on the southwestern side. Nothing in the northeastern quadrant. Not much in the southern quadrant. It is very sheared, okay? Recently we got this little convection plume. Okay, let's go to the latest image. So maybe it is trying to make some sort of comeback. I do think it's going to enter slightly more favorable conditions, but this is going to introduce something I want to talk about, a problem, like how I was saying that models are having some problems in the Atlantic. I'll show you guys that in a bit. But if we do take this convected burst, it is pretty healthy, indicating that Gabrielle is not giving up. Still some very cold cloud tops, nice plume, so maybe Gabrielle does wrap convection. You could see some more bursts trying to take place if it does wrap convection, but still in a very highly sheared environment. So that's how it looks like on satellite imagery. So going back to Atlantic, another disturbance behind it, 0% in the next 48 hours, 20% in the next 7 days. Also going to generally head west-northwest. We'll watch this one as well. So let's go back to where I was with the European, right here in the North Atlantic. So this is what we're watching. Yeah. Alright, let's see. Should I do Western Atlantic? Or, okay, we'll do North Atlantic. So, I don't even know if there's such thing as Western Atlantic. So, here we are, okay? So, here's Gabrielle right here. 1007 millibar storm. Reflecting pretty well, I'd say, on the national weather, or on the Euro. Oh, okay, 1004, a little stronger. Okay, but this run came out 12Z, so can't blame it. But anyways, here we go. We continue. Actually does get pretty weak. And yes, this has been a trend. So it does look like it could get a little weaker. Generally, looks to stay away from land. Okay, heading more northwest than even west-northwest. Does have this like slight tick right here. This is getting into the weekend. Some interest could watch over here in Bermuda. Bermuda's right around here. Might need to watch. Okay, but it depends. So the Euro likes to keep Gabrielle weak and then starts to get its act together by late this weekend and into the beginning of next week. Pops off a solid tropical storm, I'd say. Doesn't really get to hurricane, or it does get to hurricane status once you get towards the midweek, and then it gets extra tropical. So we'll have to watch that. But as of right now, Gabrielle has just consistently been verifying weaker than models, and so these models have been making adjustments. Okay, but definitely could pop off later. And then with that disturbance behind it, that's kind of like situated right in here. Very broad cluster. Models aren't really liking how it happens. Okay, multiple gravity waves, or tropical waves, I guess. But nothing really seems to pop off. Okay. And some models even showing tropical depressions over Africa, developing on Africa. And this is why. This is where I'm going to get into model error. So, this is more talk. So, Gabrielle was expected, what I've seen and heard and seen on the models, Gabrielle was expected to strengthen much quicker. It's expected to now obviously have that little delay before it starts strengthening right as it nears Bermuda and heads out to sea. Okay, also, we're in a very unfavorable MJO phase. I'll talk about that in a bit. In that Atlantic, we have a bunch of sinking air, okay? Sinking air. You need rising air if you want hurricanes and cyclones to form, okay? You have a bunch of sinking air. That's because all the rising air is in the Pacific, which is leading to these other little storms, okay? Now, the phase is expected to change, okay? It won't stay like this forever. The MJO, Madden-Julian Oscillation, goes through phases. And that phase is going to bring rising air to the Atlantic and sinking air to the Pacific. Now, either way, it is just still pretty surprising how little activity we've seen in the Atlantic. Now, that could definitely change, and it probably will change in the coming weeks, I'd say. But we are past peak season, or around just passing peak season, I'm pretty sure. And so these hurricanes could end out with a bang, but as of right now, it still looks unfavorable. And even when we did go out the full 360 hours, we still see virtually nothing. And this is when the MJO could be favorable. So, I don't know, it could be maybe a lack of these tropical waves coming off. Maybe just models, it's still really far out, so they're probably just not picking up on anything. But we will have to watch the Atlantic. But I'm just saying there's been a lot of model error showing storms getting stronger than they actually do. And that's been true for many storms. And I mean, Gabrielle looks really bad on radar right now. You could barely even consider that a tropical storm, is what some people say, and I completely agree. So yeah, that's that. Okay, so let's talk about the MJO. So this is what I mean. So let's go back 11th of September. Okay, this kind of helps to show rising, sinking air. Blue is sinking, orange is more rising air. Okay, if we kind of go through a little, you can see it turns brown, but this is the same. So typically these waves migrate and head east. Okay, always usually moves east. Okay, and so this is 20th September. This is where you see that sinking air right there. This is very broad, but it kind of really incorporates this whole area. Okay, but it shows sinking air. This is 22nd of September. Okay, and you see it continuing to migrate eastward. Okay, this is 27th, 29th, 30th. Sinking air. You got rising air right here off the coast of the Eastern Pacific, which is leading to those disturbances. Here's that sinking air. Okay, it does start to fade now. This is the 30th of September, so this is kind of like a forecast. Okay, this is the 30th of September. This is the 1st October. Okay, so hold on, let's go back. Okay, so here's that sinking air, by the way. Here's that sinking air through September. So Eastern Pacific could actually get active again. Okay, I take that back. It could stay mediocre through the rest of September until late September, where you start getting rising air in the Pacific, sinking air continues in the Atlantic. Okay, and this is October 13th. Okay, I went out way far. This is when you start to see. So that's when the sinking or rising air blob starts to migrate eastward. Okay, this time, once you get into beginning and especially middle of October, that's when we could have our next spark up in tropical activity, and that's when we're gonna have to watch for our next storms. Okay, until then, it'll be in a sinking air phase or neutral phase, and then so not really favorable, but possible for tropical storm development, and then it gets more enthusiastic once we get into October. So that's about it. Just want to talk about the tropics, try to squeeze out a short little video update on it, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow.